Arch Advocate Show for Tuesday. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to all the new people. Please do hit subscribe on this podcast episode if you're listening in. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the YouTube version, please hit subscribe and the bell icon. I'm trying to get that free Google money, yo. I can't just go around accusing people of raping me 37 years ago and then setting up a GoFundMe page. I've got to do it the old-fashioned way. I've actually got to work for it. So listen, help me out here. Just hit that subscribe button, people. Now listen, would you please just tell the truth? All right? Just, what kind of person are you if you go through life and you can't speak your mind and say what you mean? What kind of life have you led? Right? Can you imagine, right? Because we're all going to one day, be released from this mortal coil. Now, that can happen in a number of ways. You could have a massive heart attack and be dead in just a couple of seconds, and you won't really have any time to think about what's going on. You might get hit by a bus. There's a lot of things that you could have, but there's a lot of people who, they get old. Their body starts falling apart, within those last couple of years. Like, it becomes clear to those people, like, oh, I'm on my way out, right? Oh, my liver's failing, I've got heart disease, whatever, like, I had a stroke, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that they get a long time as they're dying. And it's like, can you imagine if that's you, if you looked back on your life and you saw, in the reflection of your life, that all you had ever done was tried to better your position in life by saying what you thought other people wanted to hear. Not what you knew they wanted to hear, but what you thought. Oh, I've got these polls and I've got these statistics, and if I just say this, then people will like me in such a fashion that they will give me money and power. And I lived a fake life. And I just lived my life in some pageant of popularity. Like, how would you like it? Like, if you were reflecting on your life, like all the things that you could have done and all the things that you could have accomplished and applied yourself to noble causes, good causes, and it could be anything. If you live your whole life in a fake way, like, I just don't understand who these people are. What they think, and like, what are they? Who are they going to be when they're drawing their last breath and they're looking back on their life, thinking like, "Wow, I had one shot at this. What did I do? Oh, I just lied. This Senator Warren thing. Like, look, it's not even like offensive to me. It's comical. It's hilarious. Let me just start off by saying, like, 1 in 1,024, right? Like, 1 in 1,024th. That's how much Native American blood she has in her body. I'm just gonna say this, and I trust me, I really don't want to say this out loud, but I'm going to for the sake of this conversation. It is believed in my family that my grandmother, like a lady that I knew, right? The mother of my father was half. Yeah, I believe that the rumor is that she was half. That my great grandmother, who I also knew and was very close to, was married and had a baby with a Native American man, thus making her half. And I never met that guy. But whatever. So that would make me, like, I don't know, whatever. My mom says, like, I'm 1/8 or 1/32 or whatever. Either way, like, I could literally, if all that was true, I could go to college for free. Right? I could apply for free stuff from the government. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that I would be entitled to. But I don't. And it's not because of, like, I'm ashamed of this, that, or the other, or I'm proud of this, that, or the other. It's just that, like, look, there's Native American blood in me. My last name is Dobson, which is a very English name. Also, everybody on my mother's side of the family, like they're all like Scandinavian, you know what I mean? They're all blonde and tall, you know what I mean? Like like every other American, I've got a certain, a few drops of Irish in me, you know what I mean? Like I'm a mutt, just like everybody, right? There's no, you know what I mean? The only like tribes that still have any modicum of like racial purity anymore is like Jewish, like Orthodox Jews, you know what I mean? And guess what, they suffer because of that, you know what I mean? Like what is it, Tay-Sachs disease that Jews get? That's actually because they've kept it in the tribe for so long, right? That there's penalties for that. And what I'm saying is like it would be stupid for me to say like, oh, I'm part Native American, so everybody needs to feel sorry for me and give me money. It's like, well, I'm also part Irish, and the Irish were slaves when they came to America. So you don't see me running around going like, oh, my forefathers were slaves. Look, dude, I never met them. I never met my forefathers. You know what I mean? The furthest back I met was my great grandparents, and they were pretty cool people. But you know what I mean? It's like, for me to try to single out one branch of my family tree and be like, oh, let me hang on to this one branch. It's like, no, dude, like you're made up of a lot of different things. Let me get off of this point. Like it's silly. So here's this lady, and she's a senator, right? Like that's a very powerful job, senator. And what's her main thing? Like, oh, I'm a woman. Well, congratulations, you represent half of the planet. Oh, I'm also, 1 in 1,024 parts Native American. So you should vote for me and feel sorry for me because, my people had it hard. It's like, dude, go back far enough in anybody's family tree, you will find a nation of slaves. Everybody's been enslaved. Everybody. You go back through the entire history of the entire planet, everybody's been a slave at one point or another. You know what I mean? And just this disingenuous, it's pathetic. It's like, it's disingenuous, it's pathetic, and it comes to the point of hilarity where it's like this woman was like, my Mima and my Peepaw, Mima, Peepaw. It's like, you're on national television saying Mima and Peepaw because you're an Indian. And you want everybody to think that you're an Indian for what? For what? Why do you want everybody to believe this? What's in it for you? Some sort of victim card? Right? Like, here's another reason why I don't talk about my Native American ancestry is because to this day, right? Remember the old thing in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue? Right? 1492, that's 530, almost 30. 530 years ago, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And when he accidentally arrived on the Americas, he found a people that had not yet invented the wheel. And guess what? To this day, they still have not invented the wheel. We brought that to them, right? One of the greatest tragedies of white people coming to the Americas wasn't like the accidental, transference of disease. It's like we stunted those people's growth. They still can never say our people figured out the wheel. Somebody else had to bring it to us. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, look, the whole Native American thing. All right, I was watching something just a couple weeks ago, and they were flying drones over the Amazon. All right, because we still, like, the Amazon rainforest has not been explored. It is like nearly impossible to explore the Amazon. It's very thick with trees and jungles and all kinds of crazy animals and bugs and whatever. Like, you can't explore it. You can tear it down, right? And every great once in a while, Those people that are on the Amazon bulldozing those trees down so that we can make lumber and make room for more cattle. So companies like McDonald's, by the way, McDonald's has huge cattle ranches in Brazil. From that, they tear down the rainforest and they put cows there. But let me get off of that. Every once in a while, they'll bump into a first contact situation tribe, where they'll run into a tribe of people that have never seen white people. They've never heard the English language. They have no idea what's been going on in the world. I mean, can you imagine that, right? Like, you're just chilling there in the jungle and you're hunting, rabbits or whatever it is that you hunt for food, and you're, drinking water with your hand out of rivers or whatever it is that you're doing. And all of a sudden these people show up and they show up a couple months later, they figure out your language, so they start talking to you and they're like, oh, no. Like not only have we been to the moon, right? That thing that you see in the sky every night, but there's actually like a whole bunch of planets out there, and we've put vehicles on at least one of them, right? Like, you may have looked up and seen, things flying through the sky. Yeah, those weren't gods. Those were called airplanes, and we figured out how to fly through the air like gods. But it's all this thing called science. Like, can you imagine, like, if you were one of those people, like, you would just be like, mind blown. Those people haven't, like, when we bump into those tribes, they haven't even figured out the wheel. They haven't figured out gears. And they're living that way right now, right? That's how they live right now. What I was saying is, like, I was watching this thing where they were going over the Amazon with drones and just, scouting it and taking pictures and whatever. And just recently we found another tribe. Only this time we didn't make contact with them. We just saw them with drones. And so we didn't actually bump into them. So they've been studying these people. Just like in Star Trek, like when they go to and they meet another planet, but that planet hasn't yet figured out warp drive technology, and so they, the prime directive comes in and they're like, oh, we can't contact these people because they're not advanced enough. Well, that's exactly what we have with these people. The people that they're alive right now. These are people who are alive, going about their daily lives right this very moment, and they have no clue. They have no clue why it is that people get like when their people get sick, they have no idea that there's like germs. You know what I mean? The idea of a vaccination would just be like white people voodoo to them. There's people that's how they live right now. Why would you want to claim that lineage? You know what I mean? I'm not saying you need to be ashamed of it. I'm just saying, like, why would you want that to be the thing that people think of when they think of you? Right? I don't even bring up the fact that I've got Irish blood in me, right? Because I know the history of the Irish, right? There's some great things about the Irish, but there's some very, let's just say it's a colorful history, right? I don't even claim that. I don't go around saying I'm English, right? Because my last name is Dobson. I don't claim any of it because it's just like, well, I'm just me. And I don't want your opinion of me to be based on anything other than my love of Jesus Christ, my work ethic, my love of my country, my fidelity to my family, you know what I mean? Like, my character. When you think of me, I want it to be, what I would hope is that you would identify me to my character. Flaws and all, right? Flaws and all. Everything. But national identity and all that other stuff, it's like, I don't really, whatever. You can call it, yes, I'm an American. I'm an American wherever I go. Right? But that doesn't tell you anything about who I am. Right? It doesn't tell you, the fact that I'm an American does not by itself guarantee to you that if you enter into a business contract with me that I'm going to be ethical, friendly, honest, anything like that. Right? My character spells those things out. So here's Elizabeth Warren. She goes on TV talking about my Mima and my Peepaw. And she literally got a job at Harvard teaching law on on the basis that she was a minority. That's how she got the job at Harvard, which then went on her resume, which then turned into a Senate seat. Her whole identity, you know what I mean? Like what she wants people to believe about her is things other than her character. This is a very dangerous thing because I would submit that there is a large portion of people in the seats of the Senate and in the seats of the Congress and in governorships and mayors and chiefs of police and these kind of people where that's what they want. They don't want to be judged on their character. They do everything they can to avoid being judged on their character, on the merits of who they are as people. Right? And I would think that would eventually play into like a disruption in like, I mean, do you if like you lived your whole life like that, would you even know who you are? Would you even know who you are? I don't talk about my Native American heritage or my Irish heritage or whatever because it's like that's not who I am. That's what that's what the people who were way up or way further down or way further up in my family tree, whichever one. That's who they were, but it's not who I am. Right? And because I don't know those people, I don't even know their names. I can't tell you anything about them other than, well, I guess, he was from Ireland or she was from, the northwest portion of the continent of the Americas. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't tell you anything. And what if I found out that like somebody in my national heritage was practiced cannibalism? Would that have anything to do with me? No, because that's not who I am. Right? Like, I don't understand when people have an aversion to truth. Like, not only does that frighten me, but it doesn't frighten me personally. Like, it frightens me for them. Like, how can you, when you need something so badly, how can you be allergic to it? They have this. I keep hearing on Joe Rogan on his podcast when he has hunters and when they at least they talk about hunting or they talk about veganism versus eating meat or whatever. Like they talk about there's this tick, right? Like if you go to the northeast of the United States from Georgia and then north of Georgia, there's deer ticks that if they bite you'll get Lyme's disease. And I know a couple of people with Lyme's disease and it's awful. I'm thinking of my one friend, Kevin Grangruth, actually. He's got Lyme's disease, and he was telling me, because I was asking him, like, I don't know anything about Lyme's disease. And by the way, I get people looking at me cross-eyed for this. Like, if you tell me that you have a disease, like, I'm kind of a weirdo in this sense and kind of offensive in this sense where it's like, my first instinct is not compassion. My first instinct is to find out about it. If I don't know anything about it, then I won't go directly to compassion. I'll go directly to curiosity. And I'll say, oh, what's that like? Right? I have a friend that has MS. Yeah, multiple sclerosis. And I offended him really bad one time because we started talking about it. I knew he had MS, but we just never talked about it. And a bunch of us were sitting around, and the subject came up, and I was like, "So does it hurt? Is there pain?" Right? And like I realize now that was a wildly inappropriate thing to say, but it's just that's like how my brain works. I can't help it, right? Anyways. There's a Lyme's disease. I was asking my friend Kevin, and I asked him, he says, well, I got Lyme's disease. And I'm like, oh, what's it like? When you say you have a disease called Lyme's, which I have heard of, what does that mean? is it painful? Is it whatever? And he says, well, he goes, have you ever had the flu? Which I have, have you ever had a fever from the flu? Yes, I have. And he's like, do you remember like the aches and the pains in your muscles and the overwhelming sense of fatigue and just being tired, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. He's like, well, that's what it's like for me all the time. And I was shocked. I was like, whoa, that's really, that sounds about as close to hell as I ever want to get. It's my buddy Kevin, right? I feel bad for him because it's like, to live your life that way, to feel tired all the time, that just, I hate feeling tired. Dude, if I don't get my 8 hours, I'm ruined. But what I was going to say is like there's another tick, and I can't remember what it's called, and it gives you a disease, and I can't remember what it's called, but the disease goes like this. If this tick bites you, you will become allergic to beef, red meat. You can't eat meat anymore. And I think other types of meats as well. But can you imagine being allergic to meat? Like that, I would cry. I would cry if that happened to me. I would start a GoFundMe, and you know what I mean? Like I would weep if you told me that I could not have a steak cooked on an open grill ever again in my life, or else I would suffer. An allergic reaction. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being allergic to beef? Like, dude, I need meat. Everybody needs, you know what I mean? Like, it's wonderful. And can you imagine being allergic to meat and there's just something in your blood and you can't help it. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, you're not some sissy soy boy. It's just like, man, I got bit by this tick and now I can't eat meat. Imagine being allergic to truth, right? Imagine having an allergic reaction to truth. That's who these politicians are nowadays. And it's not just Democrats either. This goes all the way through it. And it's not all of them, right? Like, I look at Trey Gowdy and I think, now there's a guy, right? Lindsey Graham recently, you know what I mean? Like, recently, Lindsey Graham's been stepping up and whatever, and I think to them, like, okay, there's a guy that we can get behind. Whatever. I used to think that way about George Bush, and now it's like, oh, no, he's one of them. He's one of those people that's allergic to truth, right? Can you imagine living your life being allergic to the truth? Having an allergic reaction like if you were allergic to meat. Something that you wanted so bad, something that you needed. You need it for your health. Like, you need animal fat protein for your health. And if you can't have it, your health is going to suffer that particular consequence. You need truth for your health, for your peace of mind, for your mental clarity and who you are as a man. And by man, I mean mankind. You need truth. And these people want nothing to do with it. There was this, there's a new clip, and I'm going to, as I said, like, I'm going to be breaking down videos or things that are on social media that I believe that you should read or watch or whatever. But there's a new release by Project Veritas. And just in case any of you are wondering, the word Veritas means truth. Project Truth. And there's this Missouri senator. Now keep in mind, senators, every state gets only 2. Right? There's hundreds of Congress people. There's only 100 senators. And Senator McCaskill of Missouri is going around telling all of her conservative constituents that, like, she would never do anything to infringe upon the Second Amendment. And yet she's caught on video bragging about the fact that she has voted against bump stocks and semi-automatic weapons. And then, Project Veritas, like, they have people who, they're spies, and they go into these organizations and they just record people talking. And there's these young people that are just like, yeah, we need to lie to win. We have to tell lies in order to win. Because, there's some people that are moderate, there's some people that are very far left leaning, and there's some people that are very far right leaning, and we need to get as many people as we can. So we'll lie to those people, and we'll lie to these people, and we'll lie, and this is just doing business, man. This is how business gets done. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine embracing living in the darkness, right? Because the thing about lying is it doesn't just send you into dark, or send the person lied to into darkness, right? If she comes up to me, if Senator McCaskill comes up to me and says, I believe in the Second Amendment and that it shall not be infringed upon, so you can have your bump stocks, you can have a magazine with 50 rounds in it, whatever, man, whatever floats your boat, right? And then she walks away, and I walk away in the darkness, right? I believe something that is false. Therefore, I am in the darkness. Now, that does harm me, right? But lying hurts the liar. This is why, now, again, all right, just real quick insert to Bible stuff, right? Moses said, thou shalt not bear false witness. Don't lie. Don't say that you saw something if you did not actually see it. Don't bear false witness. Right? You skip forward to Jesus, and Jesus says, you heard Moses tell you, thou shalt not murder, but I say to you, that if you're angry in your heart with your brother unjustly, right? Like if you don't have an actual reason, a good reason, right? Then that's what murder is, right? That's what murder is. It's anger. And God didn't tell you thou shalt not murder in an effort to protect the other guy from getting murdered. God told you thou shalt not murder, you shall not murder, because God was trying to protect you from murder and having murder in your heart because it's bad for you. And you've heard it said before, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. But I say to you that if you even look at your neighbor's wife and think about banging her, then thou shalt not commit adultery. Then you have committed adultery. Because God wasn't trying to protect that guy's marriage, and he wasn't trying to protect that lady. He was trying to protect you from your thoughts. You know what I mean? Because it's bad for you, just like pornography. It's like, it's bad for you. It's bad for you. God was trying to protect you, and you have to look, boy, I'm going to go off here. You have to look at everything in the Bible as being God is thinking about you as if you are the only person on the planet, and he's trying desperately to protect you as a father. That's how you have to look at it. Right? And it wasn't just Jesus who said that. There was a number of Jewish mystics that preceded Jesus that also said the same. There was another Jewish mystic that said, a man has to look around and see everything in the world and think to himself, like, all of this is for me. That God has, grown these trees and caused these animals to live, and created this ecosystem all to support my life. That it's all a declaration of God's goodwill and intent for my life. Right? Now, where was I going with all of that? I don't remember, but I think it had something to do with truth. Oh yeah, thou shalt not bear false witness. Don't lie. Why? Why not lie? Was it to protect the person being lied to? Was it to protect, me from being lied to by Senator, what's her name, McCaskill from Missouri? No. I mean, yes, but no. God said don't lie because lying is bad for you. Why would it be bad for you? Why would lusting after my neighbor's wife be bad for me? Why would murdering somebody else be bad for me? Right? Think about it. So, if you can understand that like the intention is like, don't murder other people, because murder's in your heart and it's bad for your heart. Don't commit adultery, meaning like don't think about other women other than your wife. Why? Because it's bad for you. Don't lie. So how is it that a lie can be bad for you? It's simple. If you can appreciate that anger is bad for you, and that walking around lusting after women who are not your wife is bad for you, then you can see how lying, living in a false, pretend world, right? That's the problem with lying, is that you can't keep track of it. You can't keep track of it. I have friends. I have a very good friend who is a Christian, by the way. You know that all Christians deal with things, right? Some Christians, they struggle with alcohol addiction. Some Christians struggle with pornography addiction. Some Christians struggle with anger issues, and some, whatever. Everybody, that is the Christian walk, is to bring your struggles before the Lord so that they may be dealt with. I have a friend who loves Jesus. He's probably one of the best read Christians I know. Well, one of them anyways. I know a lot. But like, there's no doubt in my mind this guy loves Jesus. And guess what? His big problem is he's a liar. And he will tell you this. Like, if you were his friend, and after, a certain amount of time when, trust was established and whatnot, like, he would tell you, like, this is my problem. This is the thing that I fall into over and over again, is lying. Right? It's horrific. Like, I love the guy, but what's terrible is, like, he's a horrible liar, right? Like, it's easy. If you're hanging out with him and he starts telling his stories, it's like, that's a lie. That's not true, right? That's his problem. And the problem is that, like, it's really easy to spot the lie with him, because he can't keep the story straight. That's the problem with lying. And the worst part of it is it's to a certain point where it's like, dude, I don't think you even know what the truth is anymore. And he lives in a world where it's like he really has to struggle to remember what the truth is. That sounds like hell to me. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And these people, these politicians and these people in this video that I strongly recommend that you watch, these people, it's as if they are passionate about pursuing and going further into the darkness and becoming more lost in this menagerie of lies, right? It's like one of those old English, hedges where they built mazes out of hedges, the big hedges, and they couldn't see. Like, just imagine being stuck in one of those mazes, only there was no solution to the maze. There was no exit. You were just walking around in circles. You know what I mean? Like, that's what living in a lie would be like. That's how these people live. And it's not like they are blatant about it. This is the shockers. They're like, yeah, this is how it's done, man. We have to lie. This is our whole thing, man. We want to be in politics, and therefore we must lie. How far does this problem go? And does it explain that, how it is that we've gotten $20 trillion in national debt? Oh, and by the way, we also have another $100 and some trillion in unfunded liabilities. Oh, what's an unfunded liability, Pete? It's a debt. It's a national debt, right? Like, you have your house payment, right? Your mortgage. Okay, well, that's a debt. But you know what else I could call it if I didn't want you to make you feel bad about being in debt? I would call what you owe on your house an unfunded liability. You are committed to paying it. Therefore, it is a liability that is, as of yet, unfunded. It's a debt. Our nation is not $20 trillion in debt. It's over $120 trillion in debt. Why? Because politicians don't want you to think that way, so they just say, oh, that's not a debt, that's an unfunded liability. All right, well, that's double speak, and you're a liar. What's worse is that you've said it with such conviction that I think that you believe your own bullshit. That's the world these people live in. A tangled web of lies. Now, you need to watch this video and see it, because this lady's on camera talking about what a liar she is, and her subordinates are on camera talking about what big liars they are. And if you live in the state of Missouri, like, I strongly recommend that you share this with all of your friends, because you need to vote this lady out. You can't have people living any sort. Listen, you can't live any sort of lie. It's not just that it's bad for me, which it is bad for me. It's bad for me if this lady walks around telling people, telling the people of Missouri, who, again, Missouri is one of those states where it's like, sure, they have liberals, but they also have, there's good hunting in Missouri. There's good barbecue. Some would say the best, right? Sorry, friends in Texas and Oklahoma. But you know what I mean? Like, there's red-blooded Americans in Missouri. And she goes up to those people and says, listen, I'm going to make sure that your Second Amendment rights are not infringed upon. So sure, it's bad. It's bad for everybody. That's the point. Like, when somebody murders somebody else, it's bad for everybody, including the murderer. It's bad for everybody. When you have people, like, this thing with Senator Warren, it's like, this is the thing, right? Is that they're so accustomed to lying, they'll lie about anything. They lie about everything, and it's like they don't even know anymore. Senator Warren comes out and she takes the blood test, right? Because Donald Trump said, listen, I will donate $1 million to the charity of your choosing if you get this DNA test, prove to us that you're an Indian. And like an idiot, she does it. And what is found out? Well, she's not 1/8. She's not 1/16. She's not 1/32. She's not 1/64. She's not 1 and 128th. She's 1 and 1024th. And guess what she's doing right now? She's going on TV and saying, see, I told you so. It's like, lady, like, I saw this one meme that said, she's 99.4% white, and Ivory Soap is, 94.6% pure. So literally, Elizabeth Warren is whiter than Ivory Soap. And she's out there on the campaign trail right now saying, see, I told you so. I told you I had Native American blood in my heritage. And for everybody who is even slightly reasonable, they're looking at that going, okay, I don't understand how you are not seeing what's actually happening here, lady. You are owning yourself. You're being owned by yourself. Like, you are on the receiving end of the most vicious insult that I've seen in a long time, and you are simultaneously the one who is issuing the insult. This is bizarre land that we're in right now. These are bizarre people, and they have an allergic reaction to the truth. Now, I wanted to point this out. The problem, the problem with this. You guys remember the story of the movie 300, right? With, what's his name in it? Clive Owen? No. Gerard Butler, right? Yeah. 300, it was a very popular movie amongst the gays. But it was actually a true story, right? There was, the Spartans, got in a fight with, the Persians or whatever. And there was 300, it was a fight between 300 men and like 10,000 men. And the 300 men won that battle. It was a famous battle. It's, they still teach, like if you go off to West Point or whatever, if you go off to learn the history of war and strategy and all that, you will learn about that battle. But it's not the only story in history where that has occurred. There's actually several, right? They are very rare, but they are that story of the 300. It's not exclusive to them. There's other stories just like it. A number of them, but the one I want to talk about today is in the holy book, the holy text of the Christian and the Jew. And this is the story of Gideon's army. And let me just skip forward. It says, "So Gideon, at God's command, sent back to the camp on Mount Gilboa at the rest of his army, nearly 10,000 men, keeping with himself only his little band of 300. Okay, so here's another story that parallels, the story of the 300. Now, keep in mind, if there were only those two stories in, the Encyclopedia of World History, I would raise an eyebrow. But they're not the only two stories like that. There's a number of them. But anyways, Gideon's plan did not need a large army, but it needed a few careful, bold men who would do exactly as their leader commanded them. He gave to them each a lamp and a pitcher and a trumpet, and he told the men just what was to be done with them. Now listen, in this story, you can find this story, I think it's in the book of Joshua. I didn't look at it. I just looked up something else before I started reading it. In this story, these 300 men had to fight 10,000 men, so they were horrifically outnumbered. And so what they did is they took these clay jars that they would use for water, right? And they emptied them out, and they put candles in them, or put a little fire in them. And what they did is they waited until the middle of the night, and they surrounded the camp of the 10,000. And in the middle of the night, what they did is they blew the trumpet, and then all of the men, they broke open their pitchers so that the light would come out. And these men, these 10,000 men, they all woke up, and all they saw was lights, right? And they could see what Gideon and his 300 men did is they would hold up their swords next to the light so that the reflection of the light would hit the sword. And so when these men woke up in the middle of the night, they saw that they were surrounded by lights and the reflection of the light from the swords. And so what happened was these men started running around, and they ended up fighting each other and killing one another off, right? But one thing you may not have heard, you probably have heard this in sermons growing up, but maybe you've never heard it this way, but the thing that was confusing to them was the light. That these men, it's just like you when you first wake up in the morning, right? And the sun is still down, and the lights aren't on. Like when you turn on the bathroom light, it's like, oh, my eyes, they're burning, right? It's the same thing, like having an aversion to the light. And these men were so confused by the light that they ended up killing one another off. And then the 300 came in and just kind of, mopped up afterwards. That's what happens when you have an aversion to light. When light confuses you. These people have an aversion to light. They can't stand it. Senator Feinstein rolls out this lady with a 37-year-old lie. And she doesn't see what everybody's problem is. I don't understand why I'm getting so much backlash over this. It's like, yeah, because you have an allergic reaction to light. You have an allergic reaction to truth. You have no idea why people have such an aversion to this, because you have no basis. You have no grounding in the truth. Elizabeth Warren is out there right now on a campaign trail going, I don't see why everybody's got a problem with this. I told you I had Native American blood in me. And everybody's just looking at her going like, can you hear yourself talking right now? Hello? Can you hear yourself? You're talking bullshit. Can you hear yourself right now? And she's like, whoa, I don't understand what the problem is. It's like, lady, Ivory soap is less white than you. You're so white that it could be a medical condition. Right? And everybody's just like, oh, no, you go onto the Young Turk. This is hilarious. Like, if you want to have a good long laugh, go onto Facebook today, go onto the Young Turks page and look for the Senator Warren stuff and just read the comments. It's hilarious. Because there's a segment of people out there who also have an aversion to the truth. They have no idea why people are being so mean to Elizabeth Warren. No idea. It's nuts. Now think about this again. The point of this episode isn't to bemoan the fact that there are knuckleheads out there like Chief Sitting BS, Pocahontas, right? Laya Jawea, whatever. It's not just her, and it's not just Senator Feinstein, and it's not just Captain Caveman down there in was it the Austin area, the congressman from Austin, who has had several payouts to his staff for sexual harassment. And it's not just the lady from the Miami area who literally dresses like a rodeo clown. I'm never going to let you forget that, people. It's not just those people. It's also the people who decided that they were going to let a terrorist training camp happen in New Mexico. I told you I'd never let you forget that. There was recently a terrorist training camp in New Mexico. And the news is that the federal government is aware of several more in the United States. They're aware of them, they're saying. These people are the people who we have entrusted with operating the machine that is the free market and the constitutional republic. These are the people that we have entrusted to run the organism. And they have no idea what truth is or what it smells like or what it sounds like, or you know what I mean? Like they have no interest. They are raising up a new generation. You can see it on the Project Veritas video that was just put out. They are raising up a new generation of liars, of people who are also allergic to the truth. And they just unabashedly like, yeah, we're liars. Like, this is our thing, man. Right? It's like if you went to, a business meeting or whatever, and like the person that was trying to get you to do business with them was like, yeah, I'm a pillar of the community. I belong to a bowling league, whatever. And I also like smoking crystal methamphetamine. You'd be like, whoa, what? Okay, that's a deal breaker. These kids are kids. They're in their early 20s, maybe mid 20s. They're kids. And they're just like, yeah, man, she has to lie. We have to lie. This is just what we do. This is how we got to be, man. We just got to smoke that crystal meth, man. What can I tell you? I'm a good person otherwise, but it's just this one thing, man. I just got to smoke that meth. I just got to tell these lies, man. This is how business gets done. I don't like the truth. The truth is going to make me less popular. And this I swear to you, I'm sorry, Lord Jesus. Jesus said, don't swear, just let your yes be yes and your no be no. Let me declare this to you. You will never hear me capitulating. You will never hear me saying things that I don't believe. Like Owen Benjamin says, like, I may be wrong, but I am not lying. Right? There's going to be things that I'm going to say that are going to be wrong. There's going to be things that I will say today, and a year from now, I may listen to this podcast again and listen to it and be like, yeah, I don't believe that anymore. I've taken in new information and my perspective has changed. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I declare to you is I will never, look, I get one shot at this life. I will live it in truth. I will speak my mind. I will, look, if you are suffering from that condition in any way, right? If you have a problem with truth, then you have to understand like the problem, the adversarial nature of truth, like when the truth hurts you. That means that saying that we have, right? The truth hurts. It does hurt. The truth is not the truth if it is not simultaneously your most arch advocate and your arch nemesis, right? It's not the truth if it is not your friend and also, your adversary. You're something that rubs you wrong. You should have a problem wrestling with truth, but you have to wrestle with it and understand that the truth, it doesn't care about your feelings, right? It's there to protect you and make you stronger. And that fight that you have with the truth, like, keep fighting. Get all the way through it until you master it, until you know the truth. And the truth will set you free. Like, these people, it's like, yeah, I just don't want to fight truth. I don't want to engage in that fight. I just want to live in the lie. Okay, well, that's hell. Right? You were given a choice. You could either live in the kingdom of light, right? Also known as the kingdom of God, also known as the truth, also known as the way. You were given a choice to either live in the truth or live in the darkness, because it's easier, man. There's nothing to wrestle with. It's just darkness, man. You're just punching in the dark. And you chose that? Why? Who are you going to be when you're 85 years old and you're wheezing out your dying breath and you look back on your life? You're going to look back on this like, yeah, I was a damn liar. That's what I did with my life. I lied to the citizens of my community. And I lied and lied and lied, and I did it all for 170 grand a year and a little bit of power. Wow. Like, it's nuts. Anyways, speak the truth. In my oath to you, I will always tell you the truth. Right? I will never soft soap something to you. I'm not gonna well, I say soft soap. Like, sometimes I try to explain things in a way that everybody can understand, right? Because I don't want to lose atheists, right? There's a certain contingency of my audience that are atheists. I don't want them to feel left out of the conversation, and so sometimes I try to explain things in a way that's like they can look at that and say, oh, okay, I can see that, right? But it's not soft soap. Like, if I were running for Congress, here's the thing too. This is why I don't understand it. There's 320 to 340 million people in America. That's a lot of different people with points of views, right? If I was running for Congress, I'd be like, yep, I'm against abortion. I used to be kind of in the middle. Now I'm dead set against it, right? I don't believe that marriage, right, and the licensing and all the legal stuff that goes into marriage, like, I don't believe that that's the purview of the federal government. Therefore, I don't believe that gay people getting married should be recognized in the eyes of the federal government, because it's none of their business. It's not in the Constitution, and therefore it gets kicked down to the states, right? I think that giving drugs to 12-year-olds so that they can change who they think they are sexually and biologically, I think that is should be a federal crime. You know what I mean? I would say things that are very unpopular, but it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter, because there's enough people out there that think just like me on those issues. I don't need to reach across the aisle and say, well, I'll give you a little bit of concession on this, giving carcinogenic drugs to 12-year-olds. Like, no, I'm not going to bend on that. I don't care. If there's not enough people who think like me, then I guess that my thought on that does not, in fact, represent the will of the people, and therefore I shouldn't be in Congress. Right? If what I say, if the truth is not enough, then I would rather, not be a part of the political system. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not enough, if there's not enough people out there who not only agree with me, but agree with me to the point that they would vote for me, then it's like, well, then I guess I don't deserve to win. I guess my thoughts are outdated or whatever. But I'm certainly not going to sacrifice my soul so that I can get a $160,000 or $170,000 a year job and be referred to as my esteemed colleague. It's like, dude, you sold your soul to the devil. You sold your soul to the devil, and what's worse is you didn't even gain the whole world. You gained 170 grand, a little bit of power, and then guess what? You're going to die and nobody's going to remember you. Case you want me to prove that? What was the name of the congressman of Bozeman, Montana in 1950? See how that works? Nobody remembers. See what I'm saying? Like, these people are living very forgettable lives. And they sold their soul for a couple $100 grand and a little bit of power. It's like, dude, it's shocking. And it's when you watch this Project Veritas video, it's like, dude, it's shocking to watch these kids just very flippantly and just very matter-of-factly like, yeah, man, we're a bunch of liars. It's like, dude, history is not going to remember you. It's not going to remember you poorly. It's not going to remember you at all. You're going to live out your life, you're going to die, and nobody's going to remember you. Because you lived in the darkness. Therefore, you're going to die in the darkness. Right? It's hard enough. It's hard enough to get remembered if you live your whole life in the light. You know what I mean? But nobody who lives in the darkness gets remembered, or even remembered fondly. But anyways, that's the show for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please hit subscribe. If you're listening to this on a podcast, be it on my page or on iTunes or SoundCloud or whatever, dude, would you please hit subscribe, or dudette? Please hit subscribe, right? Don't be a 1 in 1024th giver. Get it? Sorry, that joke didn't even fit into the context of what I was talking about. Hey, if you want to support the show, hit subscribe, right? That's a huge help. Also, look, baby, you got to spend money to make money. This show costs me money, and I need support. If you want to support the show, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can go onto my website, archadvocate.com, arch-advocate.com. And there's two things you can do if you want to become a Patreon supporter. I would appreciate that. A couple bucks a month, $5 here, $10 there, $20, whatever. You want to do that, that's great. If you just want to send like some dough, like on a one-time thing, like PayPal. Also, if you want to send gifts for little baby Ryland, who will be coming here any minute, that's coming. And I would appreciate that because there's going to be some expenses, and that is for damn sure. Baby Ryland is coming, which leads me into my next segment is, hey, one of these days, very soon, you're going to be looking for the daily podcast, and it's not going to be there. And when that happens, it's because I'm in a hospital watching my son come into the world, and therefore I won't be recording that day. Unless, of course, it happens on a Saturday or Sunday, which could totally possibly happen. Who knows? But if that happens, whatever, you know the deal. This is a one-man show, and if I'm helping my wife give birth to my son, then that's going to take priority over me talking into this here microphone. God bless all of you guys. Live in the truth, love the light, struggle and fight, right? Wrestle with God. That's what Israel means. It means to wrestle, fight with God, and God will give you the victory. It's guaranteed, man. Live in the light. God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.